Now, a look at previous meetings between the two sides is not good reading for Borussia Dortmund. The reverse fixture saw Dortmund come back from 2 goals down to draw 2-2, but before that, 8 straight wins for Bayern Munich. In fact, Dortmund's last win over their rival was all the way back in August of 2019. But let's get word from our team in Munich right now. Archie Rintot, Derek Ray and Arne Friedrich ahead of the latest clash.
Welcome to Munich on the eve of the big one. Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund. And for an appropriately sized game, I have appropriately sized guests in Derek Ray and Arne Friedrich. Arne, I'll start with you. No one saw Thomas Tuchel being in charge of this game for Bayern Munich 2 weeks ago. So what impact's he going to make as Bayern coach, do you think?
Obviously, he didn't really have too much time to prepare the team. First of all, many players were on the road playing for their countries. But I expect a huge impact, to be honest, because every player has to show up now and everybody wants to show off or show up. But I would say he's not going to change too many things. Tactically, I would say he's playing the 3-2-4-1. I mean, he did that with Chelsea too. To me, the big question is who's gonna start up front. Choupo-Moting is getting back. Obviously, he has a variety of players to start with. So that's going to be very interesting. But in general, I think his most important part right now is to communicate with the players. I think he did it very well at the press conference, saying, okay, it's going to be tough decisions. So he took this up front, obviously, because it was not really fair for him to choose players right now because there was no time. But it's going to be interesting.
I don't know whether it's the cold, Derek, but I can see tears rolling down on his face as he's talking about the game. The emotion of tomorrow, it must
Indeed.
be. Derek,
Yes.
where would you put your highlighter pen?
I think in terms of this game, if you're looking at the Tuchel factor, I think that really is one of the big highlights, because we've seen Bayern often enough this season under Julian Nagelsmann. We know how he liked to play. Thomas Tuchel, to me, is the ultimate pragmatist, and he's taking charge of a team that is already in place, but he will want to tweak 1 or 2 things. Now, the great thing is, speaking right now, Archie and Arne, we don't know what he's going to want to tweak precisely, but it won't be the Nagelsmann style. And what he did at Chelsea was admirable. He solidified them, and I think there's an element of having to do that with this Bayern team. But there are other factors at play here too. Kingsley Coman, for example, for me, has to play based on the form he's been in. Hasn't always played, wasn't always playing under Julian Nagelsmann. Joao Cancelo's an interesting one because, again, he's been on the outside looking in, but does Tuchel look at a player like that and say, this is a top quality operator, I've got to have him in the team? So the extent to which Tuchel does change things or not will be fascinating.
We've got to talk about Borussia Dortmund as well, because they are the form team in the Bundesliga in 2023. I wouldn't have thought, Arne, watching Borussia Dortmund against Augsburg, that this Dortmund team, back in the first game of January when we saw them, would be collecting 9 more points, at least that, than this Bayern Munich team. Why is that?
I didn't expect that, to be honest. I think the least of us would. But you just mentioned Augsburg versus Borussia Dortmund. They won a game they shouldn't have won, to be honest. And this is actually Bayern style back in the days. So therefore, I think it's really positive. But in general, I think tomorrow it's going to be really tough because, as I mentioned earlier, Bayern Munich is gonna show up. Every player wants to prove himself, especially in the first game. But still, Borussia Dortmund is number 1 right now. I think the last time at this time of the year it was in 2014 that Borussia Dortmund was number 1. I mean, this is impressive, right?
Derek?
Well, I think if you look at Dortmund, and I wrote about this in my ESPN column this week, it hasn't been the same cast of characters dominating for Dortmund in every game. It's been different players. Now, of course, you have Julian Brandt before his injury, who was playing maybe the best football of his career, certainly the best for a long time. You have others who have chipped in, like Karim Adeyemi, who probably isn't going to be fit enough to start, but might have a role to play off the bench. And, then you have Marco Reus, who is still one of the classiest footballers in Germany and can decide a game on his own. But they've got to put it all together in a meeting with Bayern, and that is easier said than done. It's one thing to win all these matches that they've won, and full credit to them and to Edin Terzic for coming up with the right tactics, but this is Bayern at the Allianz Arena, and history speaks for Bayern in this fixture. And the extent to which Dortmund are intimidated, I don't think they will be. I don't think they should be, based on how they've been playing. But the extent to which there might be an intimidation factor maybe is something we'll have to reflect on later.
You talk about that home record, Derek. Bayern have only lost 3 of their last 75 home games at the Allianz Arena in all competitions, and none of their last 25 home games. That speaks for them, but let me get a quick prediction from you both then to wrap this up. Arne?
And to also top it up, Thomas Tuchel, after taking over a new team, I think he won at least the first 6 games. So it was with Borussia Dortmund, PSG, and also with Chelsea. So therefore, I think it's even harder for Borussia Dortmund to win tomorrow. So therefore, you want my prediction?
I do.
Bayern Munich is going to win, I would say 3-1.
Derek?
I am actually going to go for a draw. Ooh. And again, that is swimming against the tide of recent history, but I think Dortmund tails are up here, and I think under Tuchel it'll be a little bit more cautious than it was under Nagelsmann. So I think Dortmund are going to get the point that will see them stay top of the table.
And that would make for a cracking Klassiker, which is what we're all hoping for, to follow up from what we saw in the first half of the season. And given the drama we've seen off the pitch in the last few weeks, who would bet against more of that on the pitch tomorrow? Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund. Ooh.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.